What's going on, folks? How you doing this week? Jay Sousa46 back with you for another episode of Above the Cutline, where, as always, we'll be taking a look at my favorite picks for cash games on DraftKings this week. This week we have the AT&T Byron Nelson Championship. We're still in Texas, so players not having to travel too far. I hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend, and I hope DFS Golf treated you well last week. I had an okay week. Well, maybe not okay, probably less than okay. Ryan Palmer and Sean O'Hare both missing the cut within their final two holes, especially Ryan Palmer, someone that I was really high on. Definitely hurt me a lot. And then John Peterson's MDF after round three didn't help either. But I was pretty high on Chris Kirk and Ian Poulter, so they were able to save me. And I had a pretty decent week. Had it not been for Palmer, O'Hare, and Peterson, I probably would have had a pretty stellar week. But, this is DFS Golf, and we move on to a new week, and we get ready to attack this field. So before we jump into the specific players, just figured I'd break down the course like I did last week. As with the course at Colonial last week, this is also a par 70. It measures out to be 7,166 total yards. The top 70 plus ties are going to make the cut this week. Some relevant stats that I think that you should take into consideration when building your lineups this week. One is going to be total driving, and that's going to be a combination of both accuracy and distance. So we're going to be looking for players that are not only long off the tee, but also can keep it in the fairway as well, because you're going to find that this course is pretty tight and there's a lot of sand traps around. So the players that can bomb it are going to be rewarded on the two par fives that are on the course, and they're also going to be able to score well on the par fours, which brings me to my next two relevant stats, which is going to be par four scoring and par five scoring. Those are in no particular order, but we're obviously looking for guys that are good at scoring on both of those. And then, as always, we're going to be looking at strokes gained tee to green and strokes gained putting. So we're going to be looking at our all-around great players that are pretty consistent. And as always, we're looking for guys to make the cut. So let's dive right into the player pool here on DraftKings. Let's start out right here at the top, and I know that I guess we come here to the debate on cash games, and I know I discussed last week that a stars and scrubs lineup probably isn't the way to go normally in your cash games, but this week I think that Jordan Spieth is the best play on the board by far. He has a tremendous course history here. He's tied for 37th last year, but if you haven't looked up to see what this guy has really done at this course, take some time out and do some research on it. He made the cut here when he was a 16-year-old. He's playing in his backyard. He obviously went to the University of Texas, which is right in the Dallas area. I really don't know what else I need to say to convince you to put this guy in this week. There's definitely enough value that we're going to get to here in a little bit that you're able to comfortably fit him into a cash game lineup, or at least I've been able to construct rosters where I'm completely fine rostering Spieth. So I think that he is going to be the top play on the board. I think you're going to see him be extremely popular due to the amount of value and the amount of, I guess, strong plays in the $7,000 range. So definitely consider Jordan Spieth if you're going the stars and scrubs approach this week. I know that I will at least have a couple lineups with him as well. Moving down the list, I definitely don't mind Dustin Johnson at all. His total driving is going to definitely benefit him on this course. I expect his par 5 scoring to be around -5 or -6 for the entire week. He can definitely take advantage of some of these holes. I don't think Jason Day will be as popular, but I definitely wouldn't fault you for looking at him at cash. Ian Poulter obviously had a great week last week, and I like him again this week. Not necessarily all in on him again this week because of how he finished last week, but like I said, definitely won't fault you for putting him in a cash game lineup. Someone that I'm definitely going to be looking at is Matt Kuchar at $9,500. He's made the cut the past 4 years here at the Byron Nelson. He finished 7th last year, 33rd, 15th, and 6th. He's not incredibly long off the tee, but he's fairly accurate. And obviously people know Cooch as a phenomenal putter. And I think that could carry him well this week. Obviously, being a good putter will help you out anywhere, but if you can figure out the greens here at the Byron Nelson, you definitely are going to be in good shape. He also has a great birdie percentage, and you're gonna obviously on DraftKings with the +3 advantage to points for birdies. That obviously puts Kuchar in play and definitely should help his case out a lot as well. And also, he's a great par four scorer. So, there's obviously an abundance of par fours as with last week. Obviously outweighing the par threes and par fives. So you're going to want to look for the guys that are more consistent on the par fours, and I definitely think Matt Kuchar is that guy. I don't think he can. He really has the chance to run away and win the tournament, but for the price that we're looking at, he's definitely going to look. He's definitely going to make the cut, and I think that he provides the upside that you need at this price point. Moving down $1,000 from him, I also like Zach Johnson as well this week. I think that a lot of people, at least what I've read around, people are either really on Zach Johnson or they're extremely off of him. And I'm going to be the former. I am really on Zach Johnson. He has great form recently, just taking a look at his previous, obviously, getting rid of the cut at the Heritage. He finished 19th at the Crowne Plaza last week, tied for 13th at the Players, obviously the tied for 9th at the Masters, and even going back to the tied for 9th at the Arnold Palmer in mid-March. I mean, he's really played well. The only knocks that we have against Zach Johnson is obviously he's not a very long hitter off the tee, and he really needs to figure his putter out to be in true contention. But he is a decent par 4 and par 5 scorer, and obviously those are key statistics this week. I see Zach Johnson kind of being someone like Matt Kuchar. And I think that if I can just get off on a tangent here real quick, I think that that's one thing that people are always looking for, or might not always looking for, but they always, I guess, kind of factor too heavily, is they're looking for the win in their cash games. And that's just simply not the case. I went over it last week. You're really going to just be looking for guys that, are safely making the cut, but at the end of the day have a chance to be in contention on the weekend as well. And Zach Johnson fits that bill perfectly. Yeah, he might not win every single week, but he's consistently finishing, top 20, top 25 every single week. And that's what you're looking at, especially out of someone at this price range. And if he is able to muster out a top 10 and even win the tournament, then, good on him. So that's my thoughts on Zach Johnson this week. I've been able to put together a few lineups that I like with Kuchar and Zach Johnson. Excuse me, especially with some of the lower value that I said that we'll get to. We're going to go ahead and move down the list this week. Obviously, two players that you might want to consider are Jimmy Walker and Ryan Palmer. I don't think very many people are going to be right on Ryan Palmer this week after he burned the majority of DFS players that took him or he burned all of them, but it burned the majority of players last week because everybody was really high on Ryan Palmer. So could make for a nice little contrarian differentiation cash play. I don't mind him, and I also don't mind Jimmy Walker at all. Yeah, the consistent top 10 finishes haven't been there, but he's still making cuts, and he's only missed one on the season. So I like both of them. Moving down the list, Mark Leishman is someone that I really like this week. I was high on him last week, didn't really highlight him, but also in passing I said that I liked him to contend, and he doesn't disappoint with his tie for 27th. He made the cut, and his price point last week, that's what we were looking at him doing. So he has pretty decent form coming in. He's made his last 3 cuts, obviously nothing stellar. He has obviously one top 25, but he's been hovering right around that range for the past month or so, and it's really nice to see Mark Leishman, playing good golf. Obviously, with the health scare with his wife, that was obviously you don't want to wish that on anyone, and so it's really nice to see him rebound. And he's really just a great guy. He has a fantastic short game. His putter is good, and he's a decent total driver. He's not overly long off the tee, but he's pretty accurate to make up for that, and that's exactly what we're looking for here. And one thing that I do want to highlight on Mark Leishman is for all of you course history guys, he has pretty stellar course history. Last year he finished tied for 3rd at this event, and then he went tied for 12th 2 years ago, tied for 3rd. He did miss the cut. And what would that be? 2011, but he finished tied for 12th in 2010. So. Very good course history here for Mark Leishman. Definitely the person that I'll be looking at in this kind of, I guess, middle tier, middle to upper tier. Definitely someone I'm looking at. Him and Brendan Todd both have been finding their way into my lineups a lot. Todd obviously won this event last year. So not going to hit on him specifically, but moving down the list, Charlie Hoffman is someone who I feel like is going to be very popular this week. His okay course history here. He didn't play last year. He finished tied for 8th in 2013. In 2012, he finished tied for 41st, and he missed the cut in 2011 and 2010. So, like I said, okay, obviously that top 10 is something that we can build on, but obviously he's had pretty great form here recently. Obviously he's 13 for 17 for his cuts this year. He finished tied for 10th at the Crowne Plaza this week. Not a lot of people were on him, so kudos if you were. I personally wasn't. And he hasn't missed a cut since mid-March. So he's been playing fantastic golf recently. Obviously, we saw what he did at the Masters, which was, nobody really even saw that coming. So he's a long hitter. He's got a decent short game, and he's a good par 4 and par 5 scorer. So someone that I really think will be popular this week, and definitely will be a staple in my cash game. I definitely am finding myself with 84 to 87 or $8,800 left, and I'm finding that it's pretty easy to fit Charlie Hoffman and Mark Leishman into a lineup with one of the I guess the middle priced or not the middle price, but the lower upper tier guys, someone like a Zach Johnson or a Matt Kuchar, if you decide to go that route and don't go complete stars and scrubs with someone like a Jordan Spieth or a Dustin Johnson. So moving a little bit further down the list, we have arguably my favorite play of the entire week, and that's going to be Mr. Russell Henley here. He's $7,900, and first of all, the thing that jumps off the page the most to me is his 12 out of 13 cuts this year. And so that's obviously something that we're looking at. Vegas currently has him as a 40 to 1 dog, or 40 to 1 odds, excuse me, to win the tournament. And a lot of the same players around this price range are looking at 81 or even 90 to 1 odds to win. So he definitely sticks out as an outlier in this price range. He doesn't have any course history, and that might drive a few people off of him, and I really hope that it does, because I think that he's going to be a fantastic play this week. He's super long off the tee, and he does back that up with a fairly decent amount of accuracy. He is a great par 5 scorer. Obviously, his driving distance helps him out with that, and he putts lights out when he's on his game. So I think that Russell Henley makes for a fantastic value play this week. He's actually my dark horse pick to win this week. Picked Sean Stephanie last week, and he had a pretty good showing. I finished with a top 15. So hopefully Russell Henley can finish with a victory for us this week. So definitely look to lock in Russell Henley to your lineups. Definitely a player that I'll be looking at pretty heavily this week. Moving down this list, not really too much to jump off the page that jumps off the page to me. I know a lot of people are on Brooks Koepka. I'm personally not. I want to see how he truly rebounds from that rib injury before I feel comfortable rostering in a cash game. Definitely don't mind him in a GPP. He's a long hitter, and the rest of his stats really line up for this course. So I think that he can do well this week, but I'm not ready to trust him in my cash games yet. So moving down, obviously Brendan de Jong is someone who makes a lot of cuts. He plays pretty much every event on this tour. He's not overly long off the tee, but he's a decent ball striker and fairly decent putter when he can get it rolling. So someone to consider in this price range. Obviously, he's not someone to really target, but if you find yourself in a vacuum, definitely you could do worse than Brendan de Jong, especially in this price range. So moving all the way down, the next person I'd like to highlight is Hunter Mahan, and he comes in at $7,100 this week. Mahan is another cut-making machine. Obviously, we see that he's made 13 out of 14 cuts this year, which is fantastic. He's pretty good off the tee. He hits it around 290 yards, and he's decent everywhere else. It's really hard to find a knock with Mahan other than the fact that he's really not contending for a title every week. Yeah, he's going to make the cut, and he's probably going to finish in the top 25. We can take a look at his logs. Obviously, hasn't had the best recent form, obviously, with the tied for 53rd last week at the Crowne Plaza, tied for 47th at the Wells Fargo. He missed the cut of the Players, but he did finish tied for 9th at the Masters and had some pretty good form. Well, okay form leading up to that. So I guess that kind of sums up the kind of player that Hunter Mahan is. But in this price range, that's really what we're looking for him to do, is just make the cut. And if he finishes in the top 25 and he can give us something else on top of that, then that's just really gravy. So Hunter Mahan, I think, will be very popular this week, as with a lot of these guys in this, even this $7,100 to $6,900 price range. Moving down to another one of my favorite plays this week is the quote man of steel, Mr. Brendan Steele. And if it weren't for Russell Henley looking so good, this would probably be my dark horse to win for the week. I think that Brendan Steele would be the most popular player on DraftKings this week in cash games. He's 13 for 15 for cuts this year, which is fantastic. Obviously, we want to see players making cuts in our cash games. He finished tied for ninth at the Wells Fargo 2 weeks ago, which was refreshing to see after his two missed cuts at the Players and the Zurich Classic. He's long off the tee and very accurate as well, so his total driving stats align very well for this course. He is a great par 4 and par 5 scorer, and also has a pretty decent short game as well. So, like I said, all the boxes are checked for Brendan Steele to do very well this week. And like I said, I expect him to be fairly high owned, but I do think he's one of the quote chalk plays this week, and I think that there is little to no merit in fading him in your cash games this week. So he, along with Russell Henley, will probably be locked into the majority of my lineups. So definitely consider that. Two guys that I kind of want to hit on as I finish up this video are Morgan Hoffman here at $7,000. He's another extremely long hitter as well. Obviously, I'd like to see the cuts made a little bit higher, but obviously 10 out of 15 isn't anything to cry about or crying over spilled milk or anything like that. He's got pretty decent recent form other than that cut at the Players. I can't find a knock on Morgan Hoffman this week. It's definitely possible. So, in order to get Jordan Spieth in there, you're going to have to roster around 4 guys in the $6,900 to $7,100 price range, and I definitely think that that's pretty easy, especially given the last guy that I'm going to talk about, a former winner here, Skinny Duff, Jason Duffner. This guy is definitely worth a flyer in your cash games this week. I know that people are going to see him, and he doesn't have the greatest form, and he's making cuts, but he's obviously not making a lot of noise. But as I said, he's a former winner here. He's a great ball striker, obviously not incredibly long off the tee, but is fairly accurate. And his short game is, when it's on, it's arguably one of the best in the world. So I definitely think Duffner is a flyer this week. I think that he is a pretty safe bet to make the cut. And just like Hunter Mahan, anything after that is gravy on top of the mashed potatoes of the DFS world. So that's going to bring this week's video to a close. I hope that you've enjoyed following my picks. Thank you for everybody that has subscribed to my channel. It really means a lot to see everybody supporting these videos. And if you did like the video this week, be sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We'll be rolling out another video next week. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Good luck in all your matchups. And this is J Sousa 46 signing off till next week. Take it easy, guys.